What's good? Hated Greatness back here for episode 2 review of Joker's Game. Yeah, I just did episode 1, so I'll probably link it below so you can just go and see it if you haven't seen it. So episode 2 of Joker's Game starts off a little bit deeper into detail with the first sequence from episode 1, where you see Sukuma and Miyoshi pretending to be Japanese military police talking to the alleged American spy, John Gordon. Except this time, there's more information. We find out, talking to Gordon, it's like, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean that essentially this is the second time in a couple of days that you've been searched? I thought this was the first time you've been searched. So apparently he'd been searched before and they found nothing. And now they're searching the same place again. Keep in mind, this is after Miyoshi had already, as his interpreter, made a promise to Gordon that if they find no evidence in his residence, he'll commit ritual suicide. So it's kind of a almost expected death there, because it's like, wait a minute. So they've already searched this place. They found nothing. You've already been and keep in mind, Sukuma didn't himself make that promise. Miyoshi made it on his behest. So he's kind of screwed, because here you have a situation where you figure you won't find it because it's already been searched. You were sent on a mission intentionally to fail, because the person that represents you from the general staff headquarters wants you to fail. Colonel Muto, as you find out, the representative of the General Staff HQ in episode 2, wants them to fail. So he's kind of like, well, what's going to happen? We go into the episode and we start to get more information about not just Sukuma as a character, but Yuki, the person I just mentioned, Muto, and apparently there's this clash between the two agencies for the Japanese government. There's the General Staff HQ, which represents the normal known army and military, and there's the agency, which is a new up-and-coming regiment. Super secretive. They have new approach to things, different philosophy. The two of them don't really see eye to eye, and I guess there's competing for funding and acknowledgement. One group wants all of the promotions and financial benefit for themselves. You know, basic politics that hasn't really changed ever and is going on now. During the sequence, Sukuma basically, they search the evidence, they search the area, and they don't find anything, right? As to be expected. So Sukuma, then, being the honorable man that he is, even if he didn't himself make the deal, and even if the deal was lopsided against him, because he starts thinking in his mind, wait a minute, because remember, he's knowledgeable of the Joker game now. So he's thinking to himself, wait a minute, did Yuki know? Because he knows that he figures that Muto knew eventually that all this was a ruse, right? And keep in mind, I could be mixing this up. If you know better than me, please comment below and let me know, because this is me just theorizing. He figures that Muto knows after he finds out that it's been searched already, because Muto's the one who came up with the mission and sent it to him as the liaison to get to Yuki. Yuki sends him on a mission anyway. And with all this has happened, and with Miyoshi's words to Gordon, he starts to think, wait a minute, am I being a pawn again? Like, what's going on? Was this all a setup? You know? Is Miyoshi in on this? Does he know that I'm not going to be able to find this? Did Yuki know and send me on this mission anyway, even though there's nothing to find? You see what I'm saying? He's starting to think that maybe this is all an elaborate game and he's going to be a sacrificial pawn. And it's ironic that this is happening, because while he's in this sequence, he's kind of they searched the premises, you know, and nothing comes up. Spoiler, like major spoiler, not really, because you knew that was going to happen based on what happened in episode 1 and what they tell you in the first minute of the episode. I'm skipping over a lot of stuff because, again, I'm trying to keep this spoiler free, and there's a good chunk of the stuff that you have to see to understand. Me saying it won't have the same gravity to it. So he's prepared to actually go through with the ceremony, because as we've seen before, he is a man that he accepts what's given to him. basically because I guess he's been indoctrinized to accept whatever's given to him. He doesn't try to adapt to it necessarily, he just accepts it. Which is why when he lost the game, the poker game, I mean, we weren't shown that it was shady while the game was happening, but it was like every hand he played to his best ability were hands that were in most cases would win, like a full house. Most people aren't going to go up against a full house. He just gets beat out with all of his hands. So you'd think he would suspect foul play there. But even if he did, he just accepted the loss and was like, well, I lost. I'll get you guys next time, and he left. Well, in this situation, he's kind of doing something similar to that. When he realizes that this is a situation that's basically lose-lose from the beginning, he's still willing to go through with the suicide. He opens his shirt, he gets down, and he's drawing the sword. But while drawing the sword, we start to see a shift in him. He starts thinking, not just based on what he was told, but starts thinking for himself. All right, what do I know of the situation? What have I learned about the people that are involved in the situation over the past couple days? So he starts going back to the conversation he had with Yuki and the other members of the agency about the Joker game. And the conversation he had specifically with Yuki about what it means to be a spy, what it means to be cowardly and whatnot. And that starts playing through his mind. And through playing through that mind, he starts thinking in a fashion that he wouldn't have thought of originally. Sakuma the soldier would have probably just died at this point in time. He couldn't just stay that. He has to evolve into something else because this is a game that doesn't need a soldier. A soldier doesn't win the Joker game because a soldier just follows orders and is willing to give his life meaninglessly, which is why Yuki was trying to explain to him that there's nothing cowardly in being a spy, because being a spy, you're supposed to, your duty is still your foremost responsibility, but you have to be alive to fulfill that duty. A dead spy is a no good spy. And you have to stay uncaught. And you can't do that if you go and kill someone who catches you. Because during peacetime, when someone dies, there's a police investigation. And investigations seem to dig up information you would like to keep secret. That is the complete antithesis of what it means to be a spy. Which is what I get the point he was trying to hammer into to him. That Yuki was trying to teach him. But more importantly, it was just thinking through all of that. He started thinking in a different way and realizing, we're not really military police. We are dressed as military police, we're acting like military police, but we're not really military police. So he started thinking, what would a military police person do searching for the premises to find evidence? He started thinking, he can do that because he can relate to them because, again, he's an army man, he can understand that. And then he started thinking about how people were. And somehow, I guess this is a huge jump that he made because he's highly intelligent himself. He made the leap to realize that while they would search thoroughly, there's certain places in this house they wouldn't touch. I'm not going to go into any more detail on that. I want you to watch and see where it kept. Because honestly, where the evidence is kept, I didn't see it coming until I saw the children reciting the pledge again. And you see the images that you see of Gordon from the image from the picture they took of him, and he's an American, but he's very much a big fan of Japanese culture. He follows it as much as he can, all of it, like even the praying to the picture of the emperor, the no shoes in my house, the trees that he had, and all that stuff. Not so much. It might not even be fully authentic. It might be more of just like what a Western perception of Japanese culture, but still, he kind of honors to that. And these things are kind of clues to how they figure out where he was hiding, what he was hiding. It's very well done. Seriously, this show is awesome. Also, I would like to say I gained a lot of appreciation for Yuki as a character. He might be my favorite character in the show. The final exchange between Yuki and Sakuma was genius, where basically Sakuma actually breaks down Yuki and says, I get it now. The way that you are normally is not who you actually are normally. That's a disguise. You're in disguise 24/7. Essentially, you disguise yourself in this fashion to make it easier for you to disguise yourself in other fashions for other missions. So in other words, Yuki's in a perpetual disguise. Things like he has very distinctive features about himself that are done on purpose so that when people think Yuki, they think that. Even now, when I think of him as a character, I can vividly describe this man. He's a person with a bum leg. He uses a cane. He has a white glove on one hand, but then you find out a lot of these things are either to distract you from what's really going on or not even needed. It's very well done, and it's something that I didn't think of myself until he brings it up during that sequence where they find out how Yuki found out the whole thing was a setup. This show is so deep. Essentially, without going into too much detail, Yuki and Muto are at odds. And they're at odds because they represent different approaches to solving the same problem. It's not even just that they're in different branches of the military, essentially. They have different approaches to solving the same problem. And Muto's primary objective isn't even just solving these problems. It's getting accolades for himself. Because with accolades for himself, he can get promotions for himself. He's trying to forward himself in his career in the military. Whereas with Yuki, he's more so about, he's a deeper character. So he's more about not just getting the job done on just that singular job level, but he's trying to change the precedent, it appears, of the Japanese military and even politics. He's trying to change the way the Japanese perceive themselves on a global scale and how they interact with the rest of the world and how they view themselves as individuals, which is a very, very daunting task. But anyway, again, this show everything comes full circle with this show. You find out that the reason that the G agency members go out after curfew, even though the reason they don't have a curfew isn't just so that these dudes can go out and party. I mean, that's probably part of it because they're living a very dangerous life. Their life expectancy is probably not as high as everyone else because they're spies. And even if they do live a long life, it's going to be a long life that's not as meaningful as a regular person's life because they have to keep secrets from people that they actually get close to. They can't actually be their genuine selves. They're not their genuine selves now. Their identity's been stripped of them. But that's probably part of why they do it. It's also because that's part of their job. They go out after hours and engage with people and get information because as a spy, hell, for any person, knowledge and information, that's power. And if you don't have it, you are powerless. Which is actually what happens to Sakuma. He ends up realizing when he didn't have knowledge of the Joker game, he was powerless to compete in the Joker game. When he didn't have knowledge of what was happening with the whole John Gordon situation, he was powerless. He almost died until he actually started thinking and understanding what was happening and started generating information for himself that was technically already fed to him, but he just hadn't picked up. You could almost say that whole situation for the G agency was Yuki's way of testing him. It was a trial by fire because he either figured it out and lived and eventually started to work with the D agency, or he failed and died because he would have killed himself because he's that bound by honor that he would have done it. So it was a trial by fire. It was one or the other. I believe that was Miyoshi's part in it. I don't know that I think Miyoshi didn't think he would solve it. I think Miyoshi was just carrying out an order, and he even says himself, like, my perception of you has changed a bit. I think he tells him that he means that genuinely. Like, I don't think he figured that he would figure it out. I think he figured that he was going to die. So he was probably shocked when the guy figured it out. But anyway, oh my God, I just go off on tangent because this show, it's so deep. But anyway, the main reason these dudes go out, like I was saying, is because they go to get information. And it's not just the 8 people that are the members of the spy squadron. Yuki goes out too, apparently. I didn't even contemplate that. I mean, he's an old dude. He's got a bum leg, supposedly. He walks around with a cane. You would think someone like that wouldn't want to walk around because he's so easy to notice. So if he's doing anything that's less than professional, even if it's off the clock, he'd be looked down upon. And for someone like him who carries himself a specific way, perception matters. But no, you find out he does it too, but he does it in a very sly fashion. The way he catches Muto, all I'm going to say is a Habanashi is involved. If you know what that is, then you can start to figure it out. If you don't, there'll be an annotation on the screen somewhere that tells you what it is, basically. But yeah, and Habanashi is involved. And this is just some advice to the fellas out there. Like, if you know that you can't keep secrets, or you can't, especially if it's something for your profession, if you can't keep secrets when you're drunk, don't drink. You know what I'm saying? And especially don't drink and then hang out with the lady and tell her everything, because that's not going to stay secret. But hey, like I said, this episode, there was so much symbolism in this episode too. The part where at the end he's talking, where Yuki and Sukuma are having that discussion, and Sukuma breaks down how he sees through Yuki's his perpetual disguise and the purpose of it, and even explains how he figured it out. It was something very simple, basically. Muto dropped something at the Habanashi, and Yuki picked it up while in disguise and hands it in. And Sukuma figures out where Muto goes in after hours and finds out that he left this thing there. He even gives it back to Muto and lets him know, like, listen, this is how we found that. This is how because remember, he's technically still a liaison. He's not part of the D agency. He's still a member of the General Staff HQ of the regular army. And he just let them know this is how they figured it out. And remember, there's some animosity there too, because this person sent him on a job that he was doomed to fail. Even if he wasn't going to die, he was doomed to fail. If not for the agency, he would have failed because he wouldn't have been able to figure out where the evidence was. And it almost cost him his life because of it. So there's some animosity there. But he hands him the cigarette case and it says, you know, it is against protocol, it is illegal, it is a crime to reveal military secrets to anyone. Especially a geisha, you frequent her regularly. That's illegal. He would have, I don't know what the punishment he could have possibly been killed if that was seen as treason. So he basically put him in his place and said, listen, we know what happened. This is how we found out what happened. But you can decide to keep all of this off the books. We're going to handle the spy agency. We're going to handle the spy, John Gordon, the way we want to. We're going to get the props. We're going to get the accolades. You're going to hold this L. That's what he told him. He gave him and you know it's really difficult because there's no L in Japanese. So when he told him that, he was probably confused and just like pronounce it like an R like they usually do. I don't know. Anyway, in all seriousness, that exchange with them at the end where he basically, when Yuki flat out asks him, do you want to begin our training? Because I guess he sees potential and he sees potential in him and he wants to bring him, you know, into the D agency. And the thing is, like, you would expect the normal way his story goes, you would expect him to say, yeah, I want to do this. No, he doesn't say that. He actually ponders it because I think he understands what it would mean for him to join the D agency. He'd have to change who he was. He's a soldier right now. That's what he is. He would have to transform who he is to join the D agency. That would mean a lot for him because you're changing who you are as a character. As a person, not just a character, sorry. And he sees how the other ones, he sees how Miyoshi, Fukumoto, and the rest of the 8 monsters, as he calls them, he sees how they are. He calls them monsters. He sees what they have to give up. And he now understands, based on what Yuki told him, what it means to be a spy in the D agency. He doesn't know that he wants to do that. So there's a part where he asks them and he stands there and he says, I don't know. And Yuki keeps walking and he's standing still as if to say like the space between them is growing apart because they were walking in unison. Like, listen, I'm starting to figure this out. I'm starting to play the game. I'm with you now. And then when he asks them to actually join him, he kind of stops while Yuki keeps going. The space between them grows. And while that space between them grows, a line of soldiers in the background walking toward Sukuma come on the screen. It's just really, really subtle things like that just make the show like amazing to me. Like these are the type of things you would expect to see in a live action movie that'd be like Oscar worthy or really, really well done. I don't know about Oscar worthy because most Oscar worthy movies suck, actually, in my opinion. But that's different. I digress. The rose petals falling from the trees as he's explaining to him, that he understands now not just who Yuki is, but he's starting to understand the game. Like he's waking up. He's like his mind is kind of blooming. Like it's just these small, subtle things. So, man, this show, I have no complaints. Like there's no downside to this show. The animation is clean. The music is amazing. The story is spectacular. I love the art style. The characters are diverse in terms of like who they are and represent to the story and what kind of this show is flawless. I have no complaints. This is literally what I want from an anime show. Not even just in terms of the genre, the type of genre or what it's about, but just how well done it is and how like there's no characters that are just forced in to kind of fit a trope or for diversity's sake. No, like there's a story to be told and they're telling the story with the characters that they want to tell the story with. Very well done. Again, I'm trying to think of a flaw. I'm trying to be objective, and I can't come up with one. If you have a flaw in the show or something, let me know in the comments below. If you have comments about the show and you agree with me, let me know in the comments below. If you have theories about things that are going to happen in the future in the show, or things that I missed on, because I mean, there's so much more I could go on but I don't want to spoil the show for you guys, and I've already been talking for like 20 minutes. Leave a comment below. If you have feedback about the video, comment below. Anyway, I will be recording episode 3 right after this, so episode 3 should be going up soon. So again, hit the like button, subscribe button as well. Hit both those buttons. Help your boy out. The bigger the channel gets, the more focus I put on it. Hated Greatness. Peace.